Good day to everyone. Welcome to lesson 3. In this lesson, we will going to talk about the agrarian reform in the Philippines by Roxas administration to Duterte administration. The agrarian reform, its objectives are equalize the income and opportunities of landowners, enable beneficiaries to own their land in an equitable manner, increase agricultural productivity, hire more agricultural employees, and end disputes over ownership of land. The agrarian reform started in the Philippines by 1980. 60% of agricultural population was landless. Many of them is poor. To rectify this pervasive land tenure inequality, the Congress passed the Agrarian Reform Law in 1988 and implemented the CARP to improve the lives of small farmers by offering them the land tenure security and support services. The Department of Agrarian Reform is the lead government agency that holds and implements comprehensive and genuine agrarian reform, which actualizes equitable land distribution, ownership, agricultural productivity, and tenurial security improvement. Agrarian reform, sometimes known as land reform, is typically only associated with the redistribution of land, while it can also refer to related reforms to agricultural institutions, including loans, taxation, rentals, and cooperatives.
Maayong adlaw kanatong tanan og ani ako karon nga mag-share og pipila ka mga buhat ni Manuel Roxas og dili na tudugayon. And let's start. Republic Act number 34 established the 730 sharing arrangement and regulating shared tenancy contracts. Sa panahon ng administrasyon ni Manuel Roxas, ang Republic Act number 34 amends 4054 ay nagtatag ng 730 sharing arrangement sa pagitan ng isang nangungupahan at isang landlord na nagsasaad na sinuman ang nagbayad ng mga gastusin sa pagtatanim at pag-aani at nagkaloob ng mga hayop na pinagtatrabahuan ay may karapatan sa 70% na nag-ani. Binawasan din nito ang interes sa mga pautang ng may-ari ng lupa sa mga nangungupahan sa hindi hihigit sa 6% sa halip na 10% na nagpapahiwatig na noong panahon ng Administrasyong Roxas. Ipinatupad ang batas ng nangungupahan na naghati sa porsyento na makukuha ng isang kasero at isang nangungupahan mula sa kanyang kita. Pagdating sa kung ano ang makukuha sa lupa, 70% ang napupunta sa landlord at 30% ang napupunta sa mga nangungupahan. Dagdag pa rito, ang nangungupahan ay may kasamang isang kinokontrol na ibinahaging pangungupahan na hindi maalis o maalis ng mabilis. At kasama rin dito ang Republic Act number 55 provided for a more effective safeguard against arbitrary ejectment of tenants. Isang akto upang magbigay ng mabuti na pagkain at upang maiwasan ang kalupitan sa mga hayop na transportasyon.
Elpidio R. Quirino, 1948 to 1953, enacted the following law. Executive Order Number 355, issued on October 23, 1950, the National Land Settlement Administration was replaced by the Land Settlement Development Corporation, the SEDECO, which now handles the duty of the Agricultural Machinery Equipment Corporation and the Rice and Corn Production Administration.
Ramon Magsaysay, 1953 to 1957. To rehouse political dissidents and unemployed farmers, the SEDECO was abolished by Republic Act 1160 of 1954, which also established the National Resettlement and Rehabilitation Administration (NARA), it was largely aimed at rebels who had returned and were donating land in Mindanao and Palawan for farms and residences. Putting in place a shared tenancy and leasehold arrangement, the relationship between landowners and tenant farmers was covered by Republic Act 1199, Agricultural Tenancy Act of 1954. Legislation established the security of the tenant tenure. Additionally, the Court for Agrarian Relations was founded. The Management of Land Tenure (LTA) Republic Act 1400 established, which was responsible of acquiring and distributing vast tenanted rice and corn farms measuring 200 hectares for individuals and 600 hectares for businesses. The Land and Reform Act of 1955. Republic Act 821, Creation of Agricultural Credit Cooperative Financing Administration, offered loans with low interest rates of 6 to 8% shared tenant and small farmers. Carlos P. Garcia didn't change anything. He just continued magsaysay reform.
Former President Diosdado P. Macapagal, 1961 to 1965, he enacted the following law: Republic Act No. 3844 of August 8, 1963, or also known as the Agricultural Land Reform Code. This Republic Act abolished shared tenancy, institutionalized leasehold, set retention limit at 75 hectares, invested preemption and redemption rights for tenant farmers, provided for an administrative machinery for implementation, institutionalized an agrarian cases judicial system, included extension, marketing, and supervised credit system of services for farmer beneficiaries. During sa administration ni former President Macapagal, iyang gihawa ang shared tenancy. Unsang meaning aning shared tenancy or unsa maning shared tenancy? Mura ni siya kontrata between the landlord o sa tenant or sa farmer, in which dapat equal ilang share when it comes sa income sa farm, or maskin malugi ni, dapat tunga sila sa gasto, in which disadvantage kaayo siya sa farmer kay sila ang naghago sa farm, although dili ilahang yuta pero unfair gyapon maong iyang gitagaan og fair rights ang mga farmers, o gihawa niya ang shared tenancy tapos gipulin niya ang leasehold aron naapoy rights ang mga farmers, as well as gitagaan niya og mga machinery used for marketing sa ilang mga products.
Let us now proceed to former President E. Marcos' administration from 1965 to 1986. With the issuance of Proclamation No. 1081 on September 21, 1972, the new society era began. The Agrarian Reform Program was implemented 5 days after martial law was declared, and at the same time, the entire country was designated as a land reform region, which means that the system of land ownership is changing throughout the entire nation, especially when it comes to distributing land to those who actually farm it and taking it away from others who possess big tracts of land for financial gain. President Marcos enacted the following laws: the Republic Act No. 6389, or the Code of Agrarian Reform, and Republic Act No. 6390 of 1971. The main goals of the Agricultural Land Reform Code were to better the lives of farmers by releasing them from damaging practices like illegal landing rates. It also encouraged the growth of family-sized farms as the foundation of Philippine agriculture. In order to speed up the execution of the Agricultural Reform Program, RA 6390 of 1971 established an Agrarian Reform Special Account in the General Fund and provided the required funding for it, along with many other factors. Presidential Decree No. 2, September 26, 1972. It is a decree proclaiming the entire country as a land reform area. it limited the scope of land reform to tenanted rice and cornfields and imposed the 7-hectare retention threshold. Presidential Decree Number 27, October 21, 1972. All tenant farmers, whether or not they were employed on landed estates, who worked on privately owned agricultural areas used for growing rice and corn, were freed on October 21, 1972 by Presidential Decree Number 27, which was issued by President Ferdinand Marcos. Sharecropping or lease tenancy was used to establish the system.
Next is President Corazon C. Aquino. Her administration lasted from the year 1986 to 1992. So the text is visible naman for you to read. So I'll just further explain na lang. So si President Cory Aquino ang nagpa-implementa ng CARP o ng Comprehensive Agrarian Reform Program. This is the Republic Act number 6657 which had become effective on June 15, 1988. The act consists of 78 sections divided into 15 chapters. Nakasaad sa batas na ito, Article 2, Section 21, na kinakailangan ng Estado na suportahan ang reformang agraryo at komprehensibong pag-unlad sa kanayunan. Pinagtibay din ni President Cory Aquino ang mga sumusunod na batas na ito. Executive Order Number 228 of 1987 ang pagdeklara ng full ownership to qualified farmer beneficiaries na sakop ng Presidential Decree Number 27. Executive Order Number 229 pagbibigay ng mga mekanismo para sa pagpapatupad ng Comprehensive Agrarian Reform Program. Proclamation Number 131 ang pagtatag ng CARP bilang pangunahing programa ng pamahalaan. Naglaan ito ng espesyal na pondo na kilala bilang Agrarian Reform Fund or the ARF na may paunang halaga ng 50 billion pesos para sa programa nito, sakop ang taong 1987 to 1992. Executive Order 129A of 1987, ang otoridad at aktibidad ng Department of Agrarian Reform ay pinahusay. Executive Order Number 405 of 1990. Ibinigay sa Land Bank of the Philippines ang responsibilidad na tukuyin ang pagtatasa ng lupa at kabayaran para sa lahat ng lupang sakop ng CARP. Executive Order Number 407, pinabilis ang pagkuha at mamamahagi ng mga lupang agrikultura.
Former President Fidel V. Ramos, 1992 to 1998. President Fidel V. Ramos' administration had to deal with the public losing faith in the Agrarian Reform Program when he officially entered office in 1992. His administration vowed to carry out the Agrarian Reform Program in a fair, quick, and meaningful manner. President Fidel V. Ramos enacted the following laws: the Republic Act No. 7881 of 1995. This act modified a number of the provisions of RA 6657 and exempted fish ponds and prawns for CARP coverage. The Republic Act No. 7905 of 1995 strengthened the implementation of the CARP. Executive Order No. 360 of 1997. This order restricts the kind of lands that may be converted by establishing conditions under which a number of different categories of agricultural land are either completely off limits to conversion or subject to tight restrictions. So kung ma-observe na to, nakasentro ang mga batas ng ipatupad ni former President FVR sa Agrarian Reform Program. That's why i-implement niya ang CARP or ang Comprehensive Agrarian Reform Program atong 1995. Tapos isa pa na is iyang gi-restrict ang pag-convert sa mga land area which is dako ang matabang para mapakinabangan pa ang land area into agricultural matter.
Dadako naman tayo kay Joseph E. Estrada taong 1998 to 2000. Ira para sa mahirap. President Joseph Estrada became immensely popular during the 1998 presidential election because to this battle cry. Ito ang sigaw ng labanan na nagpamahal kay Pangulong Joseph Estrada at nagpasikat sa kanya noong 1998 presidential election. Pinasimula ni Pangulong Joseph E. Estrada ang pagsasabatas ng sumusunod na batas. Kautosang tagapagpaganap No. 151 Setyembre 1999, Farmers Trust Fund. Pinasimulan niya ang pagsasabatas ng Executive Order No. 151 noong Setyembre 1999, na nagpapahintulot sa voluntaryong pagsasama-sama ng maliit na operasyon ng sakahan sa medium at large-scale integrated enterprise na maaaring ma-access ang pangmatagalang kapital. Sa kanyang administrasyon, inilunsad ni Pangulong Estrada ang magkabalikat para sa kaunlarang agraryo o magkasaka. Nakipag-joint venture ang DER sa mga pribadong mamumuhunan sa sektor ng agraryo para maging competitive ang FPS. Gayunpaman, ang Estrada administrasyon ay hindi tumagal. Iginiit ng masa na naglagay sa kanya sa pwesto na mapatalsik siya. At yun lamang po, maraming salamat.
Gloria Macapagal Arroyo, 2000 to 2010. By fostering partnerships, promoting social fairness, and opening up new economic opportunities, we can make the countryside economically valuable for the Filipino family while also fostering long-lasting peace and rural development. These ideas serve as the foundation for agricultural reform program of the Royal Administration. Land tenure enhancement DAR will keep implementing the land distribution and acquisition component of the CARP assiduously by way of land allocation and leasehold. The land tenure system will improve thanks to the DAR a variety of support services, including programs for technical and marketing support, credit assistance, extensions services, irrigation facilities, roads, and bridges are all included in CARP in addition to the land distribution. Infrastructure project DAR will return Agrarian Reform Communities ARCS, an area focused and integrated delivery of support services into rural economic zones that will aid into establishment of employment possibilities in rural areas. Kalahi AR Zone, the Kalahi Agrarian Reform KAR zones also went into effect. To increase agri-productivity, these zones are made up of more municipalities with concentration of ARC population. Agrarian Justice DER will hire more paralegal officers to support understaffed adjudicatory boards and will implement a quota system to force adjudicators to work more quickly on agrarian reform cases in order to help reduce the backlog of agrarian cases. Farmers and landowners' rights will be respected by DAR.
President Benigno Aquino III, year 2010 to 2016. Noong 2012, nangako siya sa kanyang State of the Nation address na tatapusin niya ang nasimula ng Comprehensive Agrarian Reform Program ng kanyang inang si Cory Aquino. So while sa iyang termino sa pagka-presidente, iyang ipang-distribute ang mga agricultural estates under sa CARP, at pinadili ang Hacienda Luisita na isa sa panag-iyahan sa ilahang pamilya. Natagan po of credit support for crop production ang mga newly established farmers organizations through APCP or Agrarian Production Credit Program. Also, under his administration, LCMS or Legal Case Monitoring System was introduced, which enables tracking and recording various agrarian matters. In addition to these programs, Aquino also passed Executive Order No. 26, Series of 2011, which required the Departments of Agriculture, Environment, and Natural Resources and Agrarian Reform Convergence Initiative to work together to create a national greening program.
Let us now proceed to the last president included in our discussion, which is the former President Rodrigo Roa Duterte, 2016 to 2022. Under his leadership, the president plans to continue an aggressive land reform program that will help poor Filipino farmers by giving support services the same weight as land distribution. The second phase of the Comprehensive Agrarian Reform Program, or CARP, in which landless farmers will get undistributed lands, was mandated by President Duterte. According to Duterte's plan, almost all public lands, including military sites, will be subject to agrarian reform. The president added 400 more hectares of agricultural land in Boracay to CARP. Under his leadership, the DAR set up a task group to combat corruption to look into and handle complaints of allegedly anomalous departmental employee and official behavior. The department also pursues an Upland Zero backlog for the resolution of cases concerning the administration of agricultural justice in order to hasten the implementation of CARP.
The agrarian reform contributed to relieve the unemployment pressure and to increase agricultural production and productivity. Although it could not prevent the massive exodus of rural population from the mountains and the most marginal areas, the program of public works was turned quite successful in sustaining both employment and income. It also achieved important multiplier effects, as the increased local demand spurred a temporary growth in the local manufacturing of consumer goods, still sheltered from external competition. In fact, despite the rapid growth of the North, the gap between the two parts of the country did not increase. Throughout the 1950s, the region's per capita GDP and per capita consumption remained a stable proportion of the North-Central values, respectively 53 to 55% and 61 to 62% per capita. Investment actually increased from 55% to 62% as a result of public works. Southern employment remained stable. The heavy losses in agriculture were compensated by significant increases in the construction sector, owing to public works and in manufacturing as a consequence of the increased local demand.